Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
When Beka's third daughter was born in 2013, she made the bold move to spend less time traveling and more time at home. After she bought her first rehab, which was a hoarder house, she was hooked. In her first year, she flipped 3 houses. Her second year, she flipped 6. And now she's on track to flip 15 and wholesale over 50 deals. On today's episode, we cover a lot with Beka, including how to get over the fear of your first flip, how to structure partnerships, how to effectively scale your business, and the best apps to create a work-life balance. Welcome back, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Super excited to have you back on our show for this week. Hi, Beka. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to jumping into Beka's story and all the wonderful things she's going to share with us today. But before we do so, we just want to thank all the ladies for being on as listeners and just supporters, and just really excited about this growing investor community of just rock star ladies making things happen in real estate and in their lives. So that's very cool. But Andressa, what's happening for you as we jump in today's episode?
You know what? I was thinking the other day about, like, back in the day, I was very proud to, say I am a perfectionist. Super proud. That's who I am. And I thought that was actually not like my weaknesses. I saw that as a strength. And then, as you go in real estate, you figure it out that doesn't serve you. It just will hold you back to that illusion that such a thing exists.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you're going to do a bad job or cut corners. That's not the point. But you've got to focus on the bigger picture. Or even in real estate, in the podcast that we're doing, the community that we are doing, different ladies are messaging me privately and sharing their struggles and everything. And I encourage them, share within the community. And their concern is, but I'm not really ready. How about if I say something wrong? I was like, listen, English is not my first language. You know how many grammar mistakes I make during the podcast? Tons. When I listen to myself, I was like, oh my gosh. But regardless of that, regardless of how I speak, how I write, the focus is on getting things done and connecting with our values and focusing on our goals. So that's what I wanted to share. Like, I'm not a perfectionist anymore.
I heard it once perfectly put, and I think about this when I get in that space. Focus on your progress, not your perfection. So just focus on making progress, not on the doing it perfectly. Yeah. So good stuff. So we'll keep that as a theme for today. But
there we go.
So Beka, welcome again. Just super excited to have you with us and all the ladies listening. So as we like to kind of kick things off and jump into this conversation, tell us a little bit about how you came to be getting involved, obviously, in flipping and in real estate, and just share a little bit about your story and what really compelled you to get into this business? Because there's a lot of reasons we all get in, but what compelled you in particular?
Sure. Well, I'm excited because this is lady centric. So I feel like this will resonate with a lot of people. Before I did real estate investing, I was a mechanical engineer, and I worked on projects that were all over the US. So there was a lot of travel involved and leading those projects. And I was 8 months pregnant with my third daughter, and I have 3 daughters. They're all 2.5 years apart. So I was 8 months pregnant with 2 small children, and I traveled 6 out of 8 weeks in my third trimester, at the beginning of my third trimester. And I was like, I loved my job, but I was like, I cannot do this. It's just crushing me. And it was kind of typical corporate world where you were expected to work, 60, 70 hours a week. And so when I went on maternity leave, my husband and I had always talked about flipping a house. And I was like, you want to flip a house part-time, but we already have 3 kids. So it's like we have full-time jobs and full-time jobs. And you want to add another job. And so when I went on maternity leave, I said, how about I try this house flipping thing. I don't want to go back to work. I'd like to be able to spend more time with my kids. And that's how it started. I got my first house. I called it the Cat Pee Hoarder House.
Beautiful. It sounds very interesting.
Smelled like money.
Yes. Yes. Every time I go to a house that smells like cat pee, I was like, this smells money. Very big time.
like the smell.
I like that. Cat pee equals money. I like that. That's a new way of thinking about it.
Mold as well. I look
Spider webs.
So tell us about that. So here you are, never flipped a house. You're coming from, I would imagine, as a mechanical engineer, you got an analytical mind, I would imagine, totally assumption, but I would imagine. So you're going in, analyzing this thing, and you smell, cat pee. You see the hoard, all the stuff that a hoarder would have. So walk us through that experience. How'd you get the deal? How'd you find it? How'd you begin? Just all those kind of beginning steps would be great to hear.
Well, first off, I was terrified, right? I think the more analytical you are, the more likely you are to get analysis paralysis. So, but I'm also like, sometimes I'll jump off a cliff and build the plane on the way down. So
Literally.
Literally, yeah. And I did the things that most people do when they're getting in, right? I was listening to Bigger Pockets and all kinds of podcasts and reading everything I get my hands on. The Flipping Junkie blog really resonated with me because he details like, I think 36 weeks of just him analyzing deals, because Danny Johnson is also a engineer.
We're going to have Melissa, actually, his wife, on our show coming up soon. So we're excited.
She's the best.
Yeah, we're excited.
And so I made the decision to go to a local RIA, and I was too scared to go by myself. So my neighbor was in between jobs at the time, and I said to her, hey, will you come with me to this meeting? I'm a little scared. Man, my husband's going to stay home with the kids. She was like, yeah, sure. So as we're driving to the meeting, she's like, tell me a little bit about this real estate investing. And I'm telling her about it. We go to the meeting, and on the way back, she's like, would you consider partnering? Like, I think I could do this too. And I was like, that would be perfect. Like, to me, that is kind of the best way to get over that fear, is to find someone else to share it with.
Cut the fear in half. You hold half of it, and I hold half of it.
There you go.
You hold half, I hold half. So, and we ended up, it was a great partnership because I was super analytical and very organized, like logistics wise, but she would just go out and do stuff. So if I would say, here, we both were looking for properties, we both go look at them. And if we found something that seemed like a fit, either one of us or both of us would go. And she actually found this one on Craigslist. It was like $49,000. I think a guy had bought it at a tax sale. She went to see it. She's like, it's disgusting, but the price is right. It'll sell for like $120. Let's do it. So we had probably analyzed, I want to say we had looked at like 60, 70 properties, just analyze them, not necessarily going to visit every single one. And we put the offer in with the guy. It turns out he was a wholesaler. I didn't even know what that term was at the time. But he bought the property at a tax sale, just did the clean out. So it was disgusting, like hoarder house, seriously. And sold it to us for $49,000. I think he bought it for like 10. So
wow.
Good job to him for making Thursday or whatever on the, doing the clean out and seeing the potential. And then we put, I don't know, I can't do the math really quick, but we made $38,000 on the deal at the end of the day.
It's great.
Put like 40 or 50 into it, I want to say.
Yeah, those are very realistic numbers. And I think that that's so important to talk about it, because sometimes we see on TV or those gurus showing like profits of 100 plus and 200 plus. Don't get me wrong, those exist. Those are home runs, but we don't do home runs every single time. And we analyze so much. Right. And sometimes I hear people saying, oh yeah, I saw 5 already and I didn't find anything that makes sense. I was like, yeah, keep going, because let's set the expectation. So let's analyze online 100, and then you eliminate that, and you're just going to see on site a third of that, if even, and that might come 1 or 2 deals.
Yeah.
And then you're going to make,
I used to tell people when I was starting, or like when they were starting out, when people ask me, I say, just tell yourself this. You're going to look at 100 deals online. You'll wipe out a bunch of those. You'll go see maybe 30 or 40. You're going to put offers in on 20 and you're going to get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's so much value in that.
Yes. And you're going to make around 30-ish thousand, depending on how the price goes, the price point, of course, not generalizing things. Here in California, the price points are might be different and everything else, but that's realistic. If you're gonna make a home run right on the first deal, kudos to you, but those are not realistic expectations to
Definitely.
I mean, I think 38,000 is a phenomenal return on any flip. Yeah. Yeah, but any flip, let alone your first one. So walk us through how you financed it. You had a partner. Was one of you in charge of the financing, and the other person was a signer? Like, how did you do that?
We both I had 60,000 saved. I think that was like our investment. So we cashed down all our investments, and she had 60,000. So we partnered 50-50, and we created an entity. We put our money in a bank account in the entity's name. And then all the expenses got paid out of that account. So
great.
That was pretty good structure for your first deal, because I've seen like let's shake hands here and then.
Oh no, I'm an engineer. There was an operating agreement.
Great.
Go on like rocket lawyer, okay, listeners. Lawyer. They have partnership agreements and everything, and they walk you step by step. If you're like too afraid to find an attorney, try that first. Well,
and when it comes to partnership agreements, you could certainly look at some stuff online, but you really do want to, I would suggest, have an attorney look at it, because, partnerships can go south, and they can go south really badly to good people. So, I mean, we've had it happen, in our world. So I think at that point in our business, we just downloaded. Well, I didn't, but someone I know very close to me that's married to me downloaded it online. I was throwing him. He doesn't listen to this anyway. Whatever. But he it's just
a comment.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I mean, so sometimes we want to move so fast, and we do like people, and we connect with them, and we're like, this is not going to go south. But you have to really, really not expect it to go bad, because that's not the right positive attitude, but you just have to be protecting yourself and put those guardrails in. So you did it great, Beka. You really did it the right way. And I think a lot of people don't. And those sometimes are the ones that just things don't go right. And you're looking at this operating agreement, and, we've had our attorney look at certain things and like, who put this together for you? So
I think it's really intimidating to people getting started.
Sure.
But I do think you made a really good point of sit down with your partner and say, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yes.
How are you going to handle that? Because we had talked about, we both put 60,000 in, and we said, well, what if we spend more than that? And
right.
said, well, then we're going to both have to put in equal amounts more to the bank account. Or if one person puts in more money, we're going to prorate the ownership of the business entity. That way, say, we got to the end of the project and we needed another 15 or 20 grand, and they didn't have the money, then the person who puts more money in gets rewarded on the profit. If you take a loss, then you're screwed.
No, that's a huge, huge suggestion, Beka, because how many times do you go into these properties? I mean, we've done a ton of flips over the years, and there's still surprises. There's still, you could put a contingency, but there are things that happen that you don't know are going to happen, especially older homes and, homes that you're kind of, and especially in this market, people are so anxious to do deals. They're like, oh, I won't even go into the property. I'll make an offer. I know my numbers. And then they go in like, oh shit, Mm-hmm. So just make sure. I love that conversation. What happens if something goes wrong? What if we have to put more money in? Because all those things are super realistic. They're not just, they happen occasionally. They happen often.
Mm-hmm. So one time, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Beka.
I was just going to say, I was just thinking, it reminded me of a guy I know who's in a rental partnership, and they're 50-50 in it. But the properties aren't doing well. And it's been 5 years. He's still been putting money in, and his partner's just been absent. Wow. But the partner's still a 50-50 owner, and he wants to sell the properties to just, because he's the one who has to keep bleeding.
Of course.
the other guy won't agree to the sales price because he wants more for it.
Wow.
So again, like if this guy was getting prorated ownership based on the money he was putting in, then he would have a majority stake right now, and he could unilaterally make that decision of selling the properties. So.
It's huge.
That is great. Another time, one of our partners said, we don't need this agreement with what can happen wrong, because me, I know you, we have done deals before. I have integrity, so do you. And then I said, here's the point. How about if you died?
Yeah.
If I died, how your family has to have rights, my family has to have rights, and they might not even know that this project exists and they have a right on it. And so that's the point. Let's think like worst case scenario, knock on woods, but how about if something like that happens? How we will all handle the situation? Is that having an agreement does not mean that I don't trust you. It means that we are clear. We are crystal clear. There's no miscommunication, and we will back up if a disagreement happens or something happens. The commitment that we make here will resolve the situation, black and white. So it kind of avoid the bleeding that you're saying, Beka. Avoid like so many, future conflicts, unnecessary conflicts that my rights. Transitioning to where you are now, this year you are looking to flip about 15 properties. Is that correct?
Yep.
So looking at 15 properties, are you on them by yourselves or with partners?
So I have a company, but I'm the sole owner.
Got it.
And the way it's structured is I essentially, under that company, there's a construction rehabbing side and a wholesaling side that does marketing and sales.
Beautiful.
On pace, I think we'll probably do a total of maybe 70 deals. I mean, we got quite a few wholesales going this year. The way it works is I have a team of 5 on the wholesale side, and I have a construction crew of 4. And so I will get loans to my business from either hard money lenders or private money lenders, and that's how we finance stuff.
Beautiful. And how were you able to scale? Because once we are talking like 2-3 deals, sometimes people call me and say, what's the lockbox of 123 Main Street? I was like, I have no idea. Let me look at my Slack or whatever. But what systems did you put in place that allow you to scale the business up to this point?
Hiring someone, probably the hardest, scariest thing was my first hire, but it was just a runner. It was when I had like 3 or 4 rehabs going, exactly what you were saying, or like contractor A needs to be met at this property and contractor B needs to be met over there. And the first thing I did was hire an assistant to I call her my runner. Like,
okay,
go put this lockbox on this property, meet this contractor, put a sign in the yard, which freed me up mentally to do. This was before I started marketing and wholesaling. So I was spending basically all my brain power trying to find the next deal. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was the first thing, was hiring someone. And the way I looked at it was, my goal was to do a flip a month. And so I would be selling a flip a month theoretically on average. And if I was looking to make a minimum of $20,000 profit, my runner, I paid her $20 an hour for 20 hours a week. So that was $400 a week. Over the course of a month, you're looking at like $1,600 to $2,000. So I just kind of did the math of, if I get a ton of my time back and instead I make $18,000 instead of 20, is that worth it? Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So
that's a great way to do it. I mean, you're always looking to, we're in the same boat in a lot of ways. You're expanding your team and figuring things out, but obviously there's a cost and there's hey, how do we do this? And that's a great way to say it, is not can I do it, but how can I, and how did you find this person? Was somebody local? Did you put an ad out? Was it a referral? Like, how did you make that? Your sister. All right. Well, that's a good first hire.
Yeah. But if I were going to do it now and it wasn't my sister, I would put something out. I use Indeed when I'm hiring. I'd put something up on Indeed and just very specifically say, I'm looking for a runner. I'll pay. I think really you could pay $10 or $15 an hour. I paid $20 an hour because I wanted to give her that rate.
Mm-hmm.
But I think doing it now, if it was someone not related, it'd be $15 an hour. And that would cover costs, because the skill level is like a $10 an hour job, but you want them to be driving around and stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you recently started your own construction business, right? With the three
January.
people. Okay. That is something that we all think about, because one of our biggest struggles is finding a reliable general contractor. Tell me about, how did you make that decision about, quote unquote, starting a new venture?
Yeah. It's something that I would caution people not to do too soon in their game. Like, make sure you have the consistent job availability. But what happened was, over the past 2-3 years of rehabbing in Pennsylvania, I had one guy who was phenomenal. I loved him. He had a helper who was, he could have a better helper, but he was too nice to fire his guy. And so I was like, man, if I could just get this guy, and I gave him a better helper, a more effective helper, we could do even better. And then there's a third guy who worked with us, and those two worked on some side jobs together. And he was like, Josh is really great. I said, okay, well, bring him in too. So I had vetted these guys through a couple projects, and then we put them together, and I really liked them because they already knew me. They knew my expectations. They have a brain, like they'll think things through. They won't, like sometimes you hire a contractor and you're like, that needs drywall, and we're doing plumbing and electrical work, and they drywall before the plumbing and the electrical work get done.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Like installing a door in the bathroom, but the door can close because it hits the toilet. So it can't close.
Exactly. So
yeah, I know
these guys
them.
are great. They don't do stuff like that. But for me, the big stress is, number one, you have to pay them every week. So whereas with contractors that you hire out and they say it's going to be $10,000 to do this job, for my guys, if they say, yeah, we think it's going to be $10,000 because it's going to be 3 weeks or whatever, if it takes them 4 weeks, my job cost goes up.
Yep.
So there's none of that being able to hold somebody's feet to the fire with labor costs. The second thing is workman's comp and general liability are astronomical. So I think we spend $20,000 a year just in those two things. So.
Wow. And what are the advantages? So, like flipping the coin on the other side, where are the advantages that you see about being your own general contractor?
It's a crew I know, whose quality I know, and they're always available for me. And I know the quality level, but more importantly, like the more we work together, the better we get at estimating costs and timelines. Like, I was so excited because today I was sitting with my assistant running the numbers on a project we just finished. We had said it was going to be a 3-week rehab, and our budget was going to be $30,000. And we were able to save on materials, and we got it in just under 3 weeks, like 2.8 crew weeks. So it was our first project where we have been under budget and on time.
There we go. No, you got to celebrate those things. It's hard to get those both like under budget and on time. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Totally.
Usually, occasionally we'll hit on budget and on time, or just like slightly over. But this is the first time where we were significantly under budget. I think we're at like 25,000 as opposed to 30. So
how do you keep your team on schedule?
That is a great question. Clear communication with them, realistic expectations. I sit down and I go through in my head, like, for example, this project, it needed paint, and it was like 1,600 square feet. And I just thought in my head, how long would I expect a paint crew to take? Probably about 3 or 4 days. Some light exterior paint, so like trim work and shutters. Okay, paint's a week. And then kitchen and bathroom installs, another week. And then flooring and miscellaneous other stuff, another week. Like, that's how we came up with 3 weeks. And in my head, I just said, does this seem reasonable, knowing how these guys work and how fast? So, and we were right.
Awesome.
Great.
I love that. What type of app or software do you use to communicate with them?
Our game changer this year has been that we have moved into Asana.
Okay.
Asana has a Slack integration, which we're currently using Voxer. It's like a walkie-talkie app to communicate in our team, but I've been threatening to switch over to Slack for months. I just haven't made it a priority. Because Slack what happens in Asana is you create a project. This is what I love about Asana. You can create a project template if you're a Premier user. So we know when we put a property under contract, we need to do a walkthrough, create our scope, set up utilities, set up insurance, every property, right? And then we know for every contractor we have, we should be getting a W-9, a certificate of insurance, a signed lien release, and scope of a signed contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every project, we should get this from every contractor. So we created a template that every time we start a new rehab project, it just copies and pastes this template, and then we tweak it based on the project, but all the meat of it is there. So, and then even on the listing side, the rehab might be different, but on the listing side, you got to get it cleaned, you got to get it staged, you have to have photos taken, you have to sign the listing paperwork, and then in the reply to inspections, you have this. And so Asana has been a game changer for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's really neat. So, and everyone on your team utilizes it. Is that correct?
I have a project management assistant, so she basically handles all the admin back end. And then the lead of my crew, he's also in it. So we can show him where he's going. And if things come up, we can just add tasks like, hey, you need to put a handrail up, smoke detectors, fix this window at this project. And we assign those tasks to him. Every task gets a person and a due date assigned to it. And then you can
that sounds like music to my ears.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. In terms of like work balance, you mentioned that you do a couple of things in order to maintain your sanity. You mentioned that you turn off your phone, you use Google Pause and Boomerang. Talk more about those three things.
Okay, so I love leveraging technology to be organized because I love organization. I would say, like, full transparency, these past 4 weeks, we've been in a bit of a shift inside my business. So I have not been great with the work-life balance, but I'm getting back to it. And before that, I was really on a good pace. But Boomerang is an add-in for Gmail that allows you to push things to come back into your inbox later. So I sat down and I said, it's unrealistic of me. Like, I don't want to be thinking about my private lenders every day of the week. Like, where's this loan at and where's that? So why don't I just say Thursday morning is going to be the day I deal with financing? And so then anytime somebody sends me an email related to loans or lending or financing, I boomerang it to come in Thursday morning. So that was the first piece, was scheduling my week so that I focused on certain topics for a couple hours, whether it's finances or just admin or team meetings, because I like to do one-on-one meetings, and then having the appropriate emails come in on that day. The second thing is pause, which I just discovered recently and I wish I had before. When you like sit down to get through your email, and as you're in your email, you're getting like 15 more, and then you get distracted by those, and then it's like somebody pouring water into a bucket with a leaking bucket to me. Pause is another add-in for Gmail where you can set your emails to only come into your inbox a couple times a day, and you pick it. So like I have mine come in at 6 a.m. And then at 10 a.m. because usually first thing in the morning I'll set aside an hour to clear out emails. And that way I'm just working with a finite number and I don't feel like I'm losing. And then at 10 I'll get another batch in, and then I'll set aside some block of time, usually while I'm eating lunch. And then at 2 and maybe at 4, and then at like 9 p.m. So a couple times a day, my inbox will refill. What was the third thing?
Turning off your cell phone?
Oh, yeah.
That's hard.
I have 3 small kids, and they do the thing like, Mommy, put your phone down. Mommy. And so it makes me so guilty. I can't turn my brain off, but I found for a while I tried muting my phone. I tried putting it in my bedroom. And for some reason, I just randomly find myself in my bedroom staring at my phone. It's like I don't even know how I got there. So
It's like an addict. You're like, I don't even know how I walk upstairs and how I'm holding my phone. I hear you.
problem. So I have found I turn my phone off and I set my phone on the counter where my whole family can see it, because then they help keep me accountable. But honestly, once it's off, it's like something in my brain shuts off and I'm like, okay, you can't even check it. It's not an option.
Yeah.
Focus on
Yeah, that's very powerful. So is that like in the middle of the day? Is that a certain time? What rules or standards do you have around that?
I do it from like 5 to 7, because that's the time when I'm really, or like 4 to 7. Usually whenever I finish my work day, I try to turn it off
Interesting.
until 7, because that's when my kids are like, we do dinner or sports or homework. And then at 7, they're allowed to go on their gadgets. So that's kind of my hour break. 7 to 8, I'll do a little bit more work and then turn it off again to do bedtime. And usually I try to keep it off for the rest of the night, but lately I have to do more work after they go to bed. So
What are your ages of kids?
5, 7, 10.
Okay, so you're busy.
Yeah.
So where are you going next? I mean, you've been able to scale and double and just really grow sounds like a really successful team and put some great processes in place. So you're doing it right. Like where are you headed? What's next for you?
So this year we hit a hiccup with the rehabbing earlier in the year, just not having the right person in the right seat. That's my one big caution for everyone when you grow is Peely calls me the queen of systems, and it's true. I have a system for everything, but the one variable that I can't control is the people, like their work, whether they're the right fit. And every time I try to fit somebody into a role that doesn't align with their skill set, I pay for it.
Yeah.
I have a really big heart, so I usually let it go too long. So I'm recovering from some bad rehabs earlier in the year. And then the wholesaling machine, where I feel like we're finally humming there. Where I'd like to go next is instead of rentals, doing like a seller finance model. In properties where I live, there's some places where you can buy a house for like say 30,000, maybe put 10 or 15 into it, but you could resell that to an end buyer for 70 or 80. So I'd like to get a piece of that.
Neat. That's exciting. That's really cool. It's and it's probably that whole idea of like perfecting what you're up to and you keep that moving and you keep tweaking. And then, as you move along in this business, you start to say what's related, but maybe a little different and complementary. And then you just have to keep growing at a pace that works for you and works for your life and your family and all that good stuff. So it sounds like you're on that path.
But really, I want to work less. That's what's next for me.
For sure.
So I think that's the end goal for all of us, right? Build this thing that can sustain itself mostly without you. That would be success to me.
Got it. Beka, what is the lesson that is taking you the longest to learn?
Oh, you should have prepped me for that question.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. That was a good one.
Oprah.
Yeah.
I think the right people, right seats. That has been and the firing as soon as you start to feel it. Like I heard some really great quote that I wish I could remember right now, but it was like, by the time you start to question whether it's the right person, you already should have fired them. Like the first time you have that thought. So
I've heard too, for hiring and firing, hire slowly, fire quickly. You should actually take more time, but actually people do it the opposite. They fall in love with people, they hire them really quickly, and they take much longer to fire them actually. So it should be the opposite.
I hear that too, but I feel like in our businesses where it's so small, sometimes when you have a need, you have to hire fast. So I think more of it's like hire fast, but have a bench. Don't stop the hiring process just because you fill that role. Always be looking for the next candidate in case it doesn't work out. And if it does, that's awesome.
That's a good point too.
I hope no one who works for me hears this and thinks bad things. I love you guys.
She loves you. That's great. So Beka, how could the ladies listening to this episode where you've been so helpful and so insightful, how can they learn more about your business, what you're up to, and just the really cool things you're making happen?
Our wholesaling website is bekasdeals.com, bekasdeals.com. But I think the best way to see what we're up to is to find us on Facebook. My company's called Laplace Transforms, LAPLACE space transforms. It's a math joke. I didn't realize my business was going to scale when I first named my company. And I have a Beka's Deals Facebook page, but it's public. But I actually just started a private Facebook page called Beka's Deals Undercover, where I do videos of us analyzing the properties. Like, here's what's really happening inside the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't want the whole world to see that, but if you're really engaged in real estate and you want to know, like, why did I put this wholesale deal out there? Why did I think it was a good deal? And then on my handy whiteboard behind me, I run all the numbers. So
that's awesome. And ladies that are listening to it, all this great information is going to be on our show notes, so you can go there and check it out. Now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. Are you ready, Beka?
Oh, I'm ready. Bring it.
All right. The first one is, what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
Okay, I have 2. But because the first was when I was younger, The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. And I think a lot of people who read that, especially late teens, early 20s, that was pivotal. Recently, someone for Christmas last year gave me this book called Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. Have you read it? It's awesome.
Yeah.
I have it. I haven't read it yet.
Oh my gosh, it's awesome. It's essays from all these people who are like leaders in their industry. Tim Ferriss basically sent them all the same 10 questions and said, answer what you want. So each person starts with a little bio, and then it's like 3 or 4 pages of their responses. The thing I love about it is I'll read it while I'm like drinking my coffee in the morning. So I'll just read like one person. And inevitably by the end of it, I'm like super pumped up and excited.
Great. The second question is, what's the most powerful routine you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Whew, that's a good one. I think there's a book called Profit First, and it talks about paying yourself first, which is really hard in the beginning when you're just getting started. But as soon as you can implement paying yourself for your time, do it. And then in the morning, as far as like I do the Miracle Morning, I haven't done it probably for like 2 months, but I got to get back on it. Just taking some time at the beginning of the day outside of work to feel like I'm accomplishing something personal.
I see. The last question is, which woman, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
Famous? I think Oprah.
Famous or not?
She's awesome. In the real estate world, Melissa Johnson is my hero. When I first read the Flipping Junkie podcast blog, I was like, this person's awesome. I thought it was Danny. And then I met Danny and Melissa, and I realized that Melissa is actually the Flipping Junkie. Awesome.
Well, Beka, thank you so much for being on our show and adding all your great insight and tips and tricks, and just and inspiring the ladies listening. And, you know, just being able to get into this business and with 3 little ones and make it work and grow it is just absolutely inspiring. So thanks for being on our show. Thanks for being who you are. And thanks for just, you know, being another rock star lady in this business.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Beka. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.